Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today you might be wondering, what are we working on? Well, as you can see, the truck behind me has the hood up. In a previous video I installed the Corsa front pipe that connects from the downpipe to the catalytic converter section, and then from that on back I installed the JAMO stainless exhaust and that muffler resonator combo. I'll have a link in the description information card above to that video. And the one section that I left on the truck that I never touched was the downpipe. Now, the reason I have not installed this downpipe before is because I thought that there was a catalytic converter on it. Yeah, it's part of the emissions stuff, so I didn't want to like fully delete the emissions on this truck, so I was kind of worried about that. But it turns out the pictures of the factory downpipe that I saw, it's literally just a factory pipe that's squished. You know, like it's almost squished in half. I'll get some pictures when we get that out. But if you guys are wondering what we're going to replace that piece with, it's going to be this 3-inch MBRP coated and wrapped exhaust downpipe. And the part number is going to be GM8424. And this will fit your 2004 to 2010 Duramax, whether it's Silverado, Sierra, I guess a Kodiak, and the Top Kick. Yeah, I think those fits those two. So let's get started on this exhaust upgrade. And I will say this is something I've been wanting to install for a long time. I just was afraid of the factory emissions part, but then I found out that there's no cat in that downpipe. So in this case, I kind of freaked out because I thought I was going to be deleting something, but actually it's just putting a bigger pipe in, replacing that squish pipe with a bigger 3-inch downpipe. Alright guys, we're going to get started on this swap by removing the inner fender liner. As you guys can see, I popped that out. There's seriously only 6 or 7 small clips in here, and it'll pop right out. And I just discovered something super interesting, guys. See this wire harness right here? Well, if you look further, what do you guys see? There's an EGT gauge in my truck. I mean, the EGT sensor is there, the probe, and there's the wiring for it. Then if you follow the wiring, some asshole just cut it. What the hell? Why would someone cut the EGT wiring? So my truck has had an EGT probe on it for who knows how long. I've never taken this passenger side fender flare out before, so I've never noticed it. You know, the driver's side I've had out before because I was working on some of the stuff over there, but this passenger side I've never had off. Now that makes sense why I had trouble getting some of these clips off. A lot of them were butchered. I mean, I've got more of these in stock. I've got a whole tray full of them. But interesting. So my truck, I could very easily add a EGT gauge to it. I mean, assuming that I can use that same hole that's already in there. Just replace the sensor, that probe. Maybe that's something we do in the future, guys. I had no idea. And my truck does have a hole drilled out in the center console where you can like kind of put your wallet. So it kind of makes sense that you could have put some kind of little gauge there or something, but I had no idea. I don't know if that was like an Edge or Bully Dog programmer or something like that. I'm not sure. So very interesting, because my truck before I bought it was for business use. It was used in the Carolina coast, in Fayetteville area. Yes, out there, and so that's something I didn't know. I wonder if that means my truck has a tune on it. I mean, I doubt it. When I bought the truck, it did have a cold air intake on it. Just this, basically this box, this filter setup going into replacing the box with this AFE system. So maybe someone put a intake and EGT probe on the truck and had it tuned. I don't know. That's interesting. So maybe we'll have a future mod out of this. We'll see. So let's continue where we were. As you guys can see, I've got the 4-inch exhaust coming up into the V-band, and that V-band is connecting to the factory downpipe. So looks like there's a brace I'm going to have to remove on the bottom of the downpipe. Remove the V-band. And then somewhere over here is the transmission dipstick which I see is right there. I've seen conflicting stories on what we're gonna have to do here. There's a guy on YouTube called Truck Masters, and he's got some actually really good videos about how to do this stuff. And I watched some of his stuff. He didn't remove the dipstick. I think he just like loosened it. And then the MBRP instructions tell you to remove the whole dipstick. So I think what we're gonna do is try the Truckmaster version, just loosen it up, and we should be able to get the stuff out of here. But first we gotta get that exhaust undone, and then we'll move on. All right guys, one of the first steps that we just finished was removing the V-band from the downpipe. And as you guys can see, the downpipe is now loose. Now, this is being held up. I have not disconnected anything else from back here, but this is basically going to be held up by the hangers in the back, as well as the rear of the exhaust system sitting on the rear axles. So I don't think this will go anywhere. I mean, it hasn't so far. So the next step will be to remove the bolt holding the downpipe to the exhaust manifold bracket that's up here, but we're gonna do that from the side. All right guys, you'll see that I got that bolt busted loose off of the downpipe holding it to the exhaust manifold. And as you guys can see, the downpipe is fully loose on the bottom. So we're good there. We need to remove the dipstick for the transmission. I think there's 2 bolts somewhere back here. Then up on top, we're gonna do some work removing the heat shield for the turbo and all that good stuff. So one thing that I've noticed is that how loose that downpipe is. Like, I have a feeling the top V-band is either broken or somehow loosened up over time. Like, the bottom one was tight, and I actually thought that I had a cracked bellow in the exhaust going from the passenger side manifold going up into the turbo. There's a assembly that goes there, and then there's an offshoot that goes into the EGR. But man, now that I know that that downpipe is loose up top, that might be my problem, because I've been smelling diesel fumes in my cabin when I come to an idle. Like, it just gets sucked in by the air HVAC system. So just one thing that I've noticed. So we're gonna get the dipstick stuff taken care of, as well as then move up top and remove that heat shield and the basically top V-band for this whole system. All right guys, we're on top of the motor here, trying to get the turbo heat shield out. Not exactly sure how this is gonna come out, but basically there's 3 bolts on top of the shield, heat shield back here, and you just take them off with a self-ratcheting wrench. And I have it off. Just trying to get it out, it's gonna be a big pain. I've read somewhere about bending the shields to get them out. I think that's what we're gonna have to do. All right guys, I think we got it. Here you go guys, like I was saying, here's the 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3, take them out. Bend both of these to the side like that, maybe even more, and you pull it out the driver's side. You might be able to pull it out the passenger side, but I'm not 100% sure. This will definitely come out the driver's side. All right guys, I just discovered something super interesting. You know how I said I was smelling exhaust fumes? Well, I just discovered why. The top band clamp connecting the turbo to the downpipe is loose. How the hell that happened? I don't know guys. I literally was able to rotate it 180 degrees from the positioning on bottom to top. Now I mean, it's good for this install, but how long has that thing been loose? Probably years. You know, I've had this truck for 5 years. Yeah, about 5 years now. So that thing's been loose the entire time I've owned the truck. I had no idea. And the only reason I found out that the whole assembly was loose was because I took that side bolt off down on the bottom on the bracket for the downpipe. If I hadn't taken that off, I wouldn't have known. Because when I put the exhaust on here last year, I didn't hear any looseness, like everything was tight. Well, it was tight against that bracket, but it wasn't tight against the turbo. So I've been having a boost leak coming out the back of the exhaust housing the entire time I've owned this truck. That's very interesting. So right now I literally am loosening this V-bang clamp by hand. And you know what's interesting? The turbo is not hot. I got my hand, well, I'm wearing gloves, but it's a little warm, but it's not like burning. And I drove the truck to Cars and Coffee this morning. So, and that was about 20-minute drive in each direction. I was there for probably 20 or 30 minutes, and yeah. So, dude, I almost have the V-bang clamp loose. Now, the only bad part about this is that I'm gonna have to take, I don't wanna lose this nut. The only bad part is I have to get the heat shield off the downpipe, off the factory downpipe. And that heat shield doesn't go back on the factory one, on the MBRP. So here's the nut from the top V-band. I literally just pulled this off by hand. So save that over here in my pile. But now I need to go on top and take those three 10mm nuts on the heat shield, get those off the heat shield, then I'll be able to pull this from the bottom. I have taken off all of the heat shield bolts, there's 3 of them, off of the downpipe. And now I'm trying to get this heat shield up past the turbo, the downpipe. Alright, got it, guys. Oh. The only thing you really got to be careful about is the AC line up here. I think we're good, guys. Alright. This little puppy, I've been fighting for this for at least an hour. I mean, I did take a break and go eat lunch, but still, that was like 10 minutes. I've been working on this for an hour. As you guys can see, there's 3 bolts. There's 1, 2, and 3. So this heat shield sits like this. The turbo's right here. So you have to do the top, the 2 from the top, 1, 2. These 2 you have to do from the top, and the bottom one you have to do from the bottom / side. I was able to get my 3/8 Miller ratchet with a small 10mm socket on this bottom one, zipped it right out. The top 2, I had to crawl on top of the motor. When you guys just saw me sitting up here, I had to crawl on top of the motor, reach down back behind the turbo, and take these 2 bolts out. Now with the new downpipe, we will not be using this heat shield, and I'm probably not putting the other heat shield back on either. So now let's try to get the downpipe out, and that will come out from the bottom side from where you took the splash guard out. So let's head down there. Alright guys, we've gotten the heat shield off. We got the transmission dipstick loose. Took the 2 bolts off the back. Basically bolts to the bell housing. There's 2 studs. And you take 2 13mm nuts off that. And now we should be able to get this downpipe out. We'll see how this goes. Come on. Alright guys, well, A little bit of progress. We got down. A little bit of a twist. Alright guys, this is what I've been fighting for the last 3 hours. I don't know if I should admit that, probably 2. So here you go, 3-inch inlet. Smashed down to like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. Indent for the firewall. And then it slightly expands out back to 3 inches. So this is going bye-bye, so let's go get the MBRP downpipe. Alright guys, here's a comparison with the stock piece and the MBRP. Full 3-inch pipe all the way through. The stock piece flattens and pancakes like we said, right there. And this one is significantly heavier too. I don't know if this is cast iron steel and this is just some aluminum, not aluminum, but some stainless piping. That one is a lot lighter. So we'll get a little bit of weight savings and a little bit better exhaust flow. Alright guys, this MBRP downpipe is basically going to go in the same way we pulled it out. Stick it in through the side and up. And then we're going to fish this bolt through here, tie that into the exhaust manifold. That was the part of that hardware we took off earlier. So let's get this thing installed. Alright guys, I've been up here straightening out the downpipe. I had gone and already installed the lower part connecting to the Corsa catback portion, but problem with that is I didn't have this seated all the way. And you know what? I don't want another leaky exhaust. So I disconnected the lower portion again. I seated the downpipe against the turbo flange, and now I am going to tighten this V-band clamp all the way and not have a leak like we had earlier. I can't believe that I have that leak on here. That's just crazy, guys. Like I would have never even suspected to look for this to look at this upper V-band clamp. I mean, yeah, it makes sense, I should have, but like I said earlier, you know, you had to take off 3 shields, 2 heat shields just to get to this thing. So to make sure we're tight, we're gonna use our ratchet on the V-band clamp and make sure we get this thing tight. Loosen it a little bit. And to help promote easy service next time, I'm putting the V-band clamp pointing toward the top. This way I can get my ratchet right on the end and go to town. Alright guys, top is tight. Alright guys, so we're finished up top. I've tightened it down. Just got to get the downpipe connected to the Corsa pipe, tighten that V-band clamp down, and we're done. Alright guys, as you can see, I got the downpipe connected to the Corsa pipe. Now I just got to tighten down the V-band clamp, put some anti-seize on that exhaust hardware piece, and tighten everything down. Alright guys, V-band's tight. It's fully seated all the way around. We should be good. Now let's finish that last bolt and we'll be done. Alright guys, we have finished up installing the downpipe to the course of the pipe down here. We tightened down the V-clamp, put a little bit of anti-seize on that bolt holding the exhaust downpipe to the exhaust manifold assembly. Put anti-seize on that. Then up top here, you guys can see the big black downpipe. That's been fully tightened. I put the air plenum, if that's what you want to call it, back on top. Tighten all that down and we're good. Now I have fired up the truck a couple times checking for leaks. Didn't see any, so I'm going to put the splash shield back in. Then I'll put the camera out by the exhaust and let you guys hear what this thing sounds like with the 3-inch downpipe. Alright guys, there's your result of the downpipe. I wasn't expecting that significant of a difference, but it's a little louder when you're gunning it, but it seems to be a little bit quieter just idling. That probably has something to do with the fact that there's not an exhaust leak, you know, 6 inches in front of the firewall right where the turbo is. So that probably has a little bit something to do with that. So it's a little quieter but louder at the same time. So it's kind of a interesting result, but you know, I bought this project, I was like, yeah, we'll do it. I didn't think it would be that bad, and I've only been out here for a couple hours, so it hasn't been super terrible, but oh, one thing I wanted to remind you guys, remember to put the 2 bolts for the dipstick back on. I forgot to talk about that. I got back under there, I saw the 2 bolts sitting there, I'm like, oh, yeah, that needs to go back on. So put the bolts for the dipstick back in, the splash guard back on, and you're good to go. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Got a significant mess to clean up. I'm super filthy as usual, but we'll clean this up, get the shop looking better, and we'll see you guys on the next project. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Also, don't forget to hit that bell notification button. It's all really important for YouTube. If you want to help support the channel, click the links below. Thanks guys, have a good one.